আমায় একটু জায়গা দাও মাহের মন্দিরে বসি, মাহের মন্দিরে বসি। আমায় একটু জায়গা দাও মায়ের মন্দিরে বসি, মায়ের মন্দিরে বসি। আমি অনাহত একজন, আমি অনাহত একজন, আমি অনাহত একজন। অনেক দোষেতে দোষী, আমায় একটু জায়গা দাও মায়ের মন্দিরে বসি, মায়ের মন্দিরে বসি।
What a soulful rendition. Thank you so much, Shurjo. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Spiritual Workshop. This is me, Arup K. Chatterjee, and with me, my co host and friend, Shurjo Bhattacharjee, who was playing that sublime composition, Amaye Ektuku Jayga Dao Ma, Tumar Mondire Boshi. Today, we intend to begin the grand gospel, the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, authored by Master Mahashaya. And as you have already heard in our solo renditions of the live sketch of Master Mahashaya or Rector Mahashaya or Master Mahashaya, um, uh, Shurjo and I took turns to walk you through the introduction to his life, which testifies what a great character this man was. And when we see him in the first pages of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, which he finished translating or reviewing the final English versions. It is said he did so in the year 1932, a few days before he left his mortal body. So that's an amazing coincidence, and something very similar, or uh, certain things very similar kept happening to many people of the Ramakrishna tradition, including the master himself. So the master is not to be confused with Master Mahashaya, which is why Master Mahashaya left himself, encrypted in that initial M, because master was only one, and that is Sri Ramakrishna. So Shurjo, as you and I, revealed in our renditions of the introduction, Master Mahashaya is on the verge of committing suicide. So he's had suicidal thoughts. He's a very sensitive being. He's highly educated, as far as educated can go. In 1882, he's about 28 years old. He's born in 1854, and he is torn, in that samsaric tussle between. I wouldn't name which two sides, but two sides definitely, and he wishes to end his life. But one of his friends, Sidhu, he is, he happens to take him to Dakshineswar.
Right.
So I think at the risk of sounding a bit, blasé, maybe Sidhu has understood that he can't contribute much, but maybe this is his last ditch effort to save his friend from the clutches of that final plunge. So M's visit to the master is the first subtitle of the chapter named Master and Disciple, and it is dated February 1882. So the diarist, the author of the book, The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, is now going to visit the master. I would invite my friend Shurjo. Would you like to take us through the first couple of pages, Shurjo?
Absolutely, it would be my honor and privilege. Chapter 1, Master and Disciple, February 1882. M's first visit to the Master. It was on a Sunday in spring, a few days after Sri Ramakrishna's birthday, that M met him the first time. Sri Ramakrishna lived at the Kalibadi, the temple garden of Mother Kali, on the bank of the Ganges at Dakshineswar. M, being at leisure on Sundays, had gone with his friend Sidhu to visit several gardens at Baranagar. As they were walking in Prasanna Banerjee's garden, Sidhu said, "There is a charming place on the bank of the Ganges where a Paramhans lives. Should you like to go there?" M assented, and they started immediately for the Dakshineshwar temple garden. They arrived at the main gate at dusk and went straight to Sri Ramakrishna's room. And there they found him seated on a wooden couch, facing the east. With a smile on his face, he was talking to God. The room was full of people, all seated on the floor, drinking in his words in deep silence. M stood there speechless and looked on. It was as if he was standing where all the holy places met, and as if Sukdev himself was speaking the word of God, or as if Sri Chaitanya was singing the name and glories of the Lord in Puri with Ramanand, Swarup, and the other devotees. What a way to start!
I think for a moment I was a bit torn as to what is more melodic, your rendition of that song or this beginning. And I think we'll come to the adhyatmikata, the spirituality in a bit. But what do you think of the setting, Shurja? I mean, what kind of atmospherics do you sense here? Is
First of all, even before getting to where the text is, I must confess to you, Orup, that ever since we've started this, my own spirituality has taken an uptick
Mhm,
massively. I don't know
mhm,
whether it is coincidence or at the very least, let's put it down to coincidence.
mhm,
But whatever interest I had in the occult, which was significant as it is,
mhm,
has taken an even further inclination. And when I read something like this, I totally see the value, the import of such a setting, of such a discussion, of such an atmosphere, of how it can leave anyone spellbound. M sees it for the first time
mhm,
and he cannot believe what he's seeing. It's only unbelievable when you
mhm,
want it to be true.
mhm,
If you didn't care for it or if you didn't want it to be true, it would never be unbelievable. It would never leave you speechless. It only leaves you speechless if you really wanted to believe in it.
mhm,
If you really wanted to believe that could there be someone who could commune with God in front of my eyes and I could see that it was the real deal.
mhm,
He got to experience that the very first time he went to meet without any prior knowledge. Yeah, he was told that a great soul lives there. That's fine. But he just walks in and he sees this. Unbelievable.
I'm, it's very interesting that you associate spirituality with the occult. Why should you not? Um, because I believe I understand what you mean. Although for the Western reader, it'll require several footnotes and annotations. But M, mistake him not. He's a very rational being. He, as we discussed in our introduction, Shurjo, he is trained in Western philosophy, theory, metaphysics, uh, and in Indian Shastra, Darshana, that is philosophy, Ayurveda, astrology, and he's also read the literary classics, Shakespeare, Keats, Wordsworth, I'm sure. Now, this man, and you so wonderfully put it's such a deep point, but you simplified it so subtly that it's only when we are actually, secretly wanting to believe, wanting to see some proof, that we feel disappointed or there's a reaction. It's so maybe skepticism or even cynicism is actually kind of a secret belief. Now, his words are carefully chosen. It's as if Shukadev himself, as if Sri Chaitanya himself. Now, he is, if we are conscious, if we are not getting too far with our skepticism or too much into that, ever existing belief. Sorry about this, long explanation, but I think there is a sense here that Shurju, he is giving us a narrative, and he's not
Yeah.
pretending. He's probably hinting at the fact that look, if you want to have a pleasant narrative about what you see, what you perceive, you might as well have one. And this is a man on the verge of suicide. So thank you for that. Would you like to continue, Shurju? Uh,
All right, let me take.
Formalities and essentials. Yeah,
Yes,
why
let me
not?
take another one. Formalities and essentials of religion.
Hmm.
Sri Ramakrishna said, when hearing the name of Hari or Ram once, you shed tears and your hair stands on end, then you may know for certain that you do not have to perform such devotions as the Shandha anymore. Then only will you have a right to renounce rituals, or rather, rituals will drop away of themselves. Then it will be enough if you repeat only the name of Ram or Hari, or even simply Om. Continuing, he said, the Sandhya merges in the Gayatri and the Gayatri merges in Om. M looked around him with wonder and said to himself, what a beautiful place! What a charming man! How beautiful his words are! I have no wish to move from this spot. After a few minutes, he thought, let me see the place first, then I'll come back here and sit down. As he left the room with Sidhu, he heard the sweet music of the evening service arising in the temple from gong, bell, drum, and cymbal. He could hear music from the Nahabad, too, at the south end of the garden. The sounds travelled over the Ganges, floating away and losing themselves in the distance. A soft spring wind was blowing, laden with the fragrance of flowers. The moon had just appeared. It was as if nature and man together were preparing for the evening worship. M and Shidhu visited the 12 Shiva temples, the Radhakanto temple, and the temple of Bhavatarini. And as M watched the services before the images, his heart was filled with joy. I just want to take all these paragraphs, Sarup. Uh, Tell you what, this is drawing a connect with what I've been doing myself because I have started my own basic form of meditation and
Mhm.
sadhana. And when whatever I've learned before I started, which is again minuscule amount, and I intend to learn more, it is true that once you get deeper into your sadhana, I'm not saying I am because I'm not.
Mhm. Mhm.
Once you get deeper into your sadhana, the rituals will not be necessary because you've already made the connection. The
Mhm.
rituals will fall away, and the fact that he is preaching this and he was preaching this, I mean, on a very basic level, which actually is not basic. See, when you rightfully said that many people would misinterpret when I used the word occult as
Mhm.
quickly as I just threw it out there.
Mhm.
But essentially, if you knew about Sri Ramakrishna's life and the way he practiced, what it basically means is that he's the most powerful tantric practitioner of the last 200,
Mhm.
300 years easily.
Mhm.
He was the one who was able to utilize Jantro, Mantro, Tantro
Mhm.
and reach at a level beyond anyone else in the last 200, 300 years. There are stories of him consuming, instead of prasad, he's consuming feces, etc. That is exactly the essence of finding God in everything around us, even the things that are unappealing, which is the essence of Tantra. So he was able to do that. And again, he is sharing all of that because a Brahmin would never share that. Stop doing the
Mhm.
rituals because somewhere in there their selfishness would creep in. They wouldn't want that, right? They're like, religions like Buddhism and Jainism were founded because the ritualism of Hinduism had become so convoluted
Mhm.
that the common man found it difficult to relate, to practice, to afford simple ceremonies for their children, etc., because everything would cost so much money because of how convoluted it got. And here's a person who's basically renouncing the ritualism of the, not renouncing per se. He said you need to get yourself to the stage where you can renounce
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
Your devotion needs to be at that level. So, brilliant, just brilliant. And somehow drawing great parallels quite selfishly to my own life at this present moment, which I find fascinating as well.
The key thing, at the risk of I do agree with you, but then language comes in the way, as they say.
Yes.
We are lost in this masquerade. So yeah, language is a terrible enemy, and again, that's something that I do sense in the words that you're choosing. But we can't dictate the lexicon to each other. We can't dictate what words you would like to feel in or articulate your experiences in. So yes, but crucially, look, he says that it is when you start shedding tears, when your hair stands on end, it is then that you don't need the rituals. And and there is a very a critical reason why rituals or Shundharati, which is just one kind of ritual, Shundharati or Shundha, Achaman, surely these are Brahminical rituals, but at the same time, they're also very, very central to the feminine folk or the female folk of India. Now, surely there will be arguments as to this is not widespread. Oh, it happens in those houses, in that para, in that colony, maybe that culture, but not in ours. India is a diverse nation, and I grant you that it does not happen in every part of the country. And yet, so because you spoke about your present preoccupation, and mine has been rereading Gandhi, and many critics and many commentators on Gandhi. So Gandhi's feminism. I know that that's a contradiction in terms, but Gandhi's feminism was centered around his mother and his, let's say, his Krishna bhakti and his Christ bhakti and his whatever little basic tenets of Islam that he learned. He was very conscious that a lot of it is coming from the bhakti is coming from his mother. So it reminded me, well, when you were reading of this beautiful song that Kumar Vishwas has composed. I don't know if you've heard of it. I could hum a couple of lines.
Please go ahead.
मानवता की खुली आंख से सबसे सुंदर सपने राम, मानवता की खुली आंख के सबसे सुंदर सपने राम, जीव्यावाणी अर्थवती हो गई लगी जब जपने राम. Now this is from his series called Apne Apne Ram, and he goes on to say, you know, many amazingly wonderful things about Ram, but he's bringing in subjectivity to the picture. And you as a musician, I'm not surprised. I know you for so many years that I can exactly see the eternity in the momentary utterances that you make. So I can relate to you being a musician and
Yeah.
reaching that, not that state, but at least having some fleeting glimpses of a particular state. I don't compete with people who, who claim to have glimpsed it. Yes, I have been meditating for several years now of various kinds, both mantra jap and dhyan. And I think reading is also a kind of meditation. And you being a musician is also prem bhakti and
Yes.
it is karma yoga. So I can completely relate to what you're saying. Do you think I can take the next few paragraphs and see where
Absolutely.
this
Go ahead.
goes?
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
So Sidhu and M have reached Sri Ramakrishna's room. Sorry, his living, his inhabitation. And on the way back to Sri Ramakrishna's room, the two friends stopped. Sidhu told that the temple garden had been founded by Rani Rashmani. He said that God was worshipped there daily as Kali, Krishna, Shiva, and that within the gates, sadhus and beggars were fed. When they reached Sri Ramakrishna's door again, they found it shut. The maid standing outside. M, who had been trained in English manners and would not enter a room without permission, asked Brinde, the maid, "Is the holy man in?" Brinde replied, "Yes, he's in the room." M, "How long has he lived there?" Brinde, "Oh, he has been here a long time." M, "Does he read many books?" Brinde, "Books? Oh dear, not. They're all on his tongue." M, who had just finished his studies in college, was amazed to hear that Sri Ramakrishna read no books. M, "Perhaps it is time for his evening worship. Maybe go into the room. Will you tell him that we are anxious to see him?" Brinde, "Go right in, children. Go in and sit down." Entering the room, they found Sri Ramakrishna alone, seated on the wooden couch. Incense had just been burned, and all the doors were shut. As he entered, M, with folded hands, saluted the master. Then, at the master's bidding, he and Sidhu sat on the floor. Sri Ramakrishna asked them, "Where do you live? What is your occupation? Why have you come to Baranagar?" M answered these questions, but he noticed that now and then the master seemed to become absent minded. Later, he learned that this mood is called bhav, ecstasy. It is like the state of the angler who has been sitting with his rod. The fish comes and swallows the bait, and the float begins to tremble. The angler is on the alert. He grips the rod and watches the float steadily and eagerly. He will not speak to anyone. Such was the state of Sri Ramakrishna's mind. Later, M. heard and himself noticed that Sri Ramakrishna would often go into this mood after dusk, sometimes becoming totally unconscious of the outer world. M. Perhaps you want to perform your evening worship. In that case, may we take our leave? Sri Ramakrishna, still in ecstasy. No, evening worship? No, it's not exactly that. After a little conversation, M saluted the master and took his leave. Come again, said Sri Ramakrishna. On his way back home, M began to wonder, who is this serene looking man who is drawing me back to him? Is it possible for a man to be great without being a scholar? How wonderful it is. I should like to see him again. He himself said, come again. I shall go tomorrow or the day after. Um, well, he thinks or he used to think that it is not possible to be great without being a scholar, which means a lot of him's understanding about greatness comes from books
Yeah,
and is indeed qualified by people who used to read a lot of books,
yeah.
and that's certainly something that Sri Ramakrishna never did. So let me ask you this question. It can seem like I'm quizzing you or something, but I'm not, I assure you. When you said that your life has taken a spiritual upturn,
Yeah.
did you find that it was because of some kind of impression that you gathered from outside? And I know, yes, naturally, because we are all slaves of our senses. So in that broad sense, yes. But was there something, some special book, or some special wave or trend that was triggering that? Were there external circumstances?
Yeah, there was an external circumstance. It was the again before I stress the external circumstance. The first part is that if you don't feel in your heart that you need it, it will not come to you,
Hmm.
right? It's not a question of, like, for example, if you feel that there's a gap, it's not a question of filling the gap because that is the right thing to do because others will see the gap. No, it's a question of that it'll be better for your soul or your spirit that this gap is filled,
Hmm.
not because
Hmm.
someone else will see, not because that is what you're supposed to do. None of those reasons.
Hmm.
It started off innocently enough as again we're on tour and today is like the day off, and tomorrow
Hmm.
I set out again for like a really long bit of touring. But you tend to with the rest of the band you tend to talk and occupy your mind in various ways. So especially because we're on flights all the time. um, One of the things that I was recommended by the singer of my band was like, could you just watch this video? There's this person, he's on a podcast and he's speaking of tantra and spiritualism, etc. I said, okay, I'll give it a try.
Is this
And
Rajashri Nandi by any chance?
I wound up watching Rajesh Nandi also. But
Hmm.
the
Okay.
first recommendation wasn't Rajesh Nandi. The first
Hmm.
recommendation was Bhavesh Yuk or Bhavesh Bhimnathani on the same
Hmm.
Beer Biceps podcast and the Ranveer show, TRS.
Hmm.
So the Bhavesh Yuk had shown up 4 times, and I said they're like all an hour and a half, so it's like 6 hours. You want me to watch 6 hours worth of something? And he's like, I mean, if you could, and truly, there's enough time on flights to do this, and we fly fleet. There's enough travel going on. I did wind up watching all of it, and it was intriguing enough to me that again, like this gap I spoke of, where I just felt that something, to go for something. And there also he's mentioned this thing because he constantly mentions if you're going to go in for something quite deep, not a basic sadhana, not like if you're just sitting at home and chanting om, that you can do by yourself. But if you want to go into for something deeper, like let's say if you want to go in for what is the concept of an ishto devata or a very personalized deity, it is better that you go through the channels of a guru because the guru has experienced it. So they're constantly stressing that yes, you may read a book, you may get the mantra in a book, but you will not get what you will get from a guru. And having been a person who loves reading books as you are, as I am, and we love our books. I mean, God knows what life would be like without the books that we love. Certainly, it wouldn't have the same shades. It wouldn't be quite as colorful. But it is also interesting to hear the other side, or to dare say, even risk experiencing the other side when it is clearly being said this is an experiential realm. This is not a realm where you'll get all of it tattva, so to speak, by reading it. Let's say if a guru is supposed to give you a mantra to jap, and he's supposed to give you a jap mala, when the guru grants you that mantra just by the fact that the guru himself has been practicing it for years and years, when he gives you that mantra, the mantra is already infused with a certain energy which helps you in your journeys. Let's say to get 10 years you are supposed to do that mantra jap for certain connection, that shortens itself to 4 years or 5 years, because the guru has lent his credence and credibility into the mantra, his spirit into the mantra as well. So these are things that's like, okay, wow, that's great if someone has actually done that, and if you can do that, it's very, very intriguing. So while I love books, and God knows I got books today, I swear to God, all right, but uh, there's also something to be said for this, because we, again, like Sri Ramakrishna, like he was possibly, I don't know how learned he was. He might have been illiterate for all that it matters, but he knew all of it because he was experiencing it. A person who's saying that, he can say the name of Ram once or Hari once and go into raptures.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something that comes out of a book. So
Again, I my kidneys are itching, or I don't know what's the exact phrase, but to say something as it were. But again, I have to be the skeptic's skeptic, because whatever you say does resonate with me very much. And you know me, Shurja, I wouldn't agree with you just for the sake of it, because I think we have had wonderful times disagreeing with each other. But
yeah,
this is something that I completely see where you're coming from. But this needs to get out there, because we are also doing a literary or a social kind of a service by reading this book. So the experience that you are talking about is not intuitively immediately intelligible to a lot of people, and there's a
yeah,
science
absolutely
behind
right.
why all that is happening. So for example, what you
Absolutely.
said, that the 10 years of the power of that mala, or that
Mantra
amulet,
jap. Yeah.
that could be enhanced from 3 to 4 years to 10 or 15 years, and people simply wouldn't understand what you're saying. But you're
Yes.
not talking woo woo. You're not just faking something. It's an idiom. It's a particular kind of a proverbial language you're speaking, which needs to be
Yeah.
translated into common plain speak English. But we'll do that in good time. I think we've come to the end of our wonderful episode. I wish this could go on and on, Shuja, but I wish you all the very best for your flight, and I hope to catch up with you very, very soon. And thank you so much for joining for this podcast, and thank you so much to our audience for listening to us share
Yes.
our thoughts, our experiences, and these sublime words of Master Moshai. We promise to be back very, very soon. This is me, Arup K. Chatterjee, signing off with my friend Shurju Bhattacharya. Shurju, over to you. Any last thoughts?
আমায় একটু জায়গা দাও মায়ের মন্দিরে বসি,